You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast as we continue our IPL previews. Next up is the Chennai Super Kings. The Super Kings of the IPL, some would say. Max, you're a big Super Kings fan. You're not wearing your shirt, though. What's going on?
No, I'm not. Well, I think Ross has still got it. Ross,
you've kind of come dressed as Ed Sheeran though today. You literally get annoyed. You get annoyed at kind of YouTube comments, kind of calling you Ed Sheeran, but you've literally come dressed as him.
What? I wasn't aware he wore this shirt, but good to know.
It is right up his alley, Max.
Well, what can I say?
Just saying, if you're not watching on YouTube, head over, find the CSK video. Max, like, you look like you're, I don't know any of his songs. Going to sing one of his songs.
Yeah, well, I'm part of the A team.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's CSK's A team then, Max? Go on, give us the lowdown of the Mahendra Singh Dhoni magic bus.
I'm so glad you asked, Ross. The Chennai Super Kings, yes, captained by Ruturaj Gaikwad, led by Stephen Fleming, and well, we all know what to expect from CSK, don't we? They've done it year in, year out, and it's always the same. You come to the Chipawk and you get Chipawked by a CSK side featuring a number of tricksy spinners who'll tie you down in the middle overs and leave you waiting for the fastest train out of Chennai. So, do we think that is going to be any different this time round after the mega auction? Well, no, probably not. Not really. The other thing we know about CSK is they love a reunion, don't they? They love to get the old gang back together. And, well, what do we have here? Obviously, they kept the core of Gaikwad, Patirana, Jadeja, and the Doob, and also Dhoni on a cut price contract. Now he counts as uncapped, which is handy. But we've also got returns for Devon Conway, previous opener in recent years. Rachin Ravindra picked up in recent times. Ravi Ashwin back. Sam Curran back in yellow. We have my favourite IPL team picking up my favourite cricketer of all time, Sam Curran. It's a dream to be me right now as a CSK fan. But you know they've added a few things as well. They've got some wrist spinning in the shape of Noor Ahmed for that Chipawk equation. But one guy who won't be returning, a previous stalwart of the Men in Yellow, is Deepak Chahar, who has made his way to Mumbai Indians. So that leads us into my first question for CSK and where they might have some issues, which is power play bowling. They've got maybe a bit of a reliance on Mukesh Chowdhury and Khalil Ahmed up front in the power play, with probably Sam Curran dipping in, and I don't know if I like that very much. I mean, you might get more mileage out of Sam Curran later in the innings with his cutters, but yeah, I mean Mukesh Chowdhury's done okay if we're being a bit generous, and Khalil Ahmed's a player who plays cricket. For CSK, the importance of getting off to a big start in the power play at the Chipawk, I do feel like that could be a little bit of an issue for them. But in the other phases of the game, it's good old Chennai, as you'd expect. Control in the middle overs with Jadeja and Ashwin, wicket potential with Noor Ahmed. You've got death bowling expertise in Patirana, and they've picked up Nathan Ellis, which I think would be quite important because he can play when Patirana's injured, which means they don't have just one bowler to rely on for the whole of the death. They might even play both of them. That would be insane, right? Having those two closing out your innings. So I think a bit of a loss in the power play aspect, which could come back to bite them. But throughout the rest of the innings, I think Chennai are looking pretty good for their exploits at the Chipawk. And yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that's a fair assessment? Firstly, so far,
You've not really touched upon two of their biggest threats, Max, and I can't believe you've not mentioned Shreyas Gopal yet, or Deepak Huda in much detail. Like that's a winning combination. You've got off spin and leg spin partnered together, both about as good as each other with a bat.
Two guys that you could bring in to allow them to play Nathan Ellis and Paterana at the death, though. So I mean, it's you're being facetious, Ross, I'm sure, but it is, it's a valid point. You might see Shreyas Gopal turn out, and I think one of the Ashwin will probably bowl a bit in the power play at the Japork as well, so maybe that'll take some of the edge off. But what about you, Jack? Where do you sit on Chennai?
My actual question or my thoughts aren't
Hmm.
about Chennai, because every time I look at Chennai, I'm like, are they any good? Maybe not. And then they always do quite well.
It's
apart from
the
last
add
year.
3 wins to what you expect equation
Yeah,
for Chennai.
apart from last year where I thought they were quite good and they turned out to be pretty average. Um, like, and well, they're not pretty average, were they? Where are we at now? They finished fifth last year, so
They finished fifth. So they just missed
yeah,
out on net run rate behind RCB last year.
they were in the race. My question really is repping the English boys here. Sam Curran and Jamie Overton, are they actually going to play any games, or are they just going to be riding the bench?
I'd Sam Curran's playing every game for my money, and Jamie Overton's just backup. That's
Well, okay.
that's where I
Let
put
me
it,
talk.
Ben.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we'll get to that in a second. But Paterana, Noor Ahmed, and Conway are all pretty much definite starters, aren't they?
Yep.
And then I would have thought they'll play Ravindra because they seem to really like him. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe he'll be the one
Well,
that drops out and they'll play Sam Curran. I don't know. But
mm.
yeah, that's an unnecessary diversion in terms of talking about how good Chennai are. But
Hey, if
your
that's the
favourite
question you
player
want
being on the
answered,
bench, that made me
yeah,
sad.
we can jump to it. Well, so shall I? It sounds like a nice opportunity for me to run through what my
Yeah, go for
expected
it. Yeah.
lineup is. So I mean, I had Conway / Ravindra opening the batting with Ruturaj Gaikwad because they brought in Ravindra last time because Conway was injured out. Was it broken thumb he had? So he was out for a
And
while.
he's not been in the best run of form either. It's fair to say.
So I mean, I think that's a kind of one of those two possibly as the opener. Although we do have to question the wicket keeping point, so we'll come back to that. Tripathi at 3, didn't even mention him, but they brought him in from SRH. Didn't do a great job last year, but I think that could be a nice solution to a number 3 spot that they've kind of struggled with recently. They brought in Rahane in the last couple of years.
CSK black magic, isn't it? That's what's going to happen with Tripathi.
He had that incredible first season back in CSK where he's struck at like 180, 190 when he played, and it was all very strange and unexpected. Maybe they're going to mold Raul Tripathi into a new cricketer as well. Then you got Shivam Dubey coming in at 4 because that is what Shivam Dubey does. He comes in and he uses his long levers to smack spin all over the park, and you just hope they don't bowl his head and he'll be fine. And then I've got Sam Curran, Ravi Jadeja, and Deepak Hooda in there in some sort of mix. Ashwin / Dhoni. I don't know what they'll do with that. Maybe Dhoni plays instead of Hooda. He could be a guy for an impact sub, but you might need him to use the gloves if Conway doesn't play. So there's a few questions around that bit, which might lend to Sam Curran missing out, but I've got him in at the moment. And then Noor Ahmed, Mukesh Chowdhury, and Mahesh Paterana rounding it off. So that's my guess at how they line up. But you're right to point out, Jack, that they've got a couple of different options, and I think that's good. It's good to have that flexibility.
No space for Vijay Shankar in your predicted 11 there.
No, well, he could be a man to replace Deepak Hooda. He's probably again one of those guys who is about as good at the bat with Shreyas Gopal when he's on his day. But you got a couple of guys in there who I don't know, they've had moments. They've definitely had their moments in the IPL. Maybe not so good in recent years, but again, the Chennai Black Magic could come and sort them out. Maybe they're 2 little sprinkles of fairy dust away from being the best team ever to walk the earth.
It's kind of like they've tried to be like, do you know what? We've won the IPL on like easy mode, hard, like medium mode, hard mode. We're now going to go very hard, and they've gone, yeah, let's get Shreyas Gopal, Hooda, Vijay Shankar in and see what we can do. It is quite interesting. They did spend a little bit of money on Gurjap. I'm not going to say his name. Gurjapneet. I think Gurjapneet Singh. So maybe we'll see him in the yellow of CSK bowling opening up, but who knows?
He actually looked really good in some footage that I saw online. You never really know. I mean, like it was in the SMAT, and like often you'll hear people being like, "Oh, that guy had a really good spat." You really need to look into the detail when it comes to the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy because there are some teams that a good Park team would beat. So I don't know for sure, but he looked excellent
Mhm.
in the footage that I saw online. I bought him
Yeah.
in our fake auction, and I was very happy with myself because I
Nice.
got him
Well,
very
maybe
cheap.
he's the guy. Maybe he's the guy to come
Yeah,
in and solve that issue that Chennai might have with the, I don't know, second pace bowler. It's that could be it, and then they'll be playing sailing. Yeah, I think overall, I like the side. I think they've got a couple of different options. There's a few positions in there that maybe aren't top tier, but all around, it's classic template CSK for my money. They know what they're going to do. They're going to go out and play the way they always do. Stephen Fleming's still in charge. It's they're old hat now. CSK know what they're doing, and they'll go out and they'll do it all the same. Like I said, the main concern for me may be that power play. Quite important at the Chipawk, but for the rest of the innings they got it sorted. But I do wonder maybe if when they travel some of those grounds which are a bit more conducive to, I don't know, racking the runs up, they might get punished a little bit in the first 6-7 overs of a game. If you don't have as much of an obvious option to maybe use Ashwin in the power play and have that flexibility, perhaps there's a way you can get at them.
They do have the batters to take it deep, though, right? In this space, like Gaikwad has proven that he's got very good innings construction in a T20. Ravindra Conway has also demonstrated that part. So again, they can take it deep and give themselves that flexibility. And this is a team that I get what you're saying, like in that kind of the buttercream that we've called it on the previous preview, like of what's going to happen there. Dhoni's going to be what, about 63 at this IPL. So is he going to
73,
be
I
able to?
thought.
Yeah, well, it's 73. Yeah, is he going to? Is he
Yeah,
going to be like Golbadim Naib, or is he
Big
going to
muscles.
on the decline? But yeah, they'll be an interesting team to
Yeah.
lose
Well,
to for some
I
other
think that's a
other
good point.
franchises.
Like, does Dhoni feature in Chennai's best side?
Oh, definitely. Well, I think definitely. He's definitely. Like you like CSK. They
Just for
might
his
as well
mentoring
roll it.
capability.
They might as well roll him out. And to be fair to Dhoni, last year he actually boomed some sixes. Like he was actually he was quite an effective kind of
Faced an
last
average.
over player.
Yeah, faced an average of about 8 balls and was fairly reliably hitting a few
Well,
bombs.
if you consider Rajasthan Royals have retained Shimron Hetmeyer for that role, and they spent all of their money on him, having Mahindra Singh Dhoni in that role, in the kind of designated hitter, like I think he's all right. I don't think he's the weakest part of this team, if I'm perfectly honest.
No.
But I do think they've gone from some experience. Fun fact though, Max, they are not the oldest team in the IPL this year.
no way. Really?
I reckon I have an idea who that crown might belong to, but we'll get to that, shall we? So yeah, no, I think that's all fair enough. I think with CSK, I'm expecting them to be, there or thereabouts, as they always are. I mean, last year they looked dead set on the playoffs, and they kind of fell apart towards the end, didn't they? They lost quite a few of their games in the back half of the competition. I think I'm backing them to go playoffs this year. I think they look pretty solid. I don't think they look noticeably worse than they did last year, and I think some teams do.
I regret.
disagree?
I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but I do think that they will make the playoffs. I don't really like Chennai, and I don't really like Mumbai Indians. So I don't mind people knowing that. Like, I'm happy to put my cards on the table there. I like the crap franchises that never win. Like, I think they're more interesting. But so sorry about that, CSK fans. But on the flip side, like, I can recognise that this is quite a good side. I'm not. There's a couple of teams in this who I'm like, I'd be really shocked if they didn't make the playoffs. I wouldn't be like I'm stunned if they finished fifth or sixth again, but I'd be. It wouldn't be what I would predict. I think they'll finish in the 3 or 4 area. I will say, I don't love Tripathi. I don't love Deepak Huda, and I don't love Vijay Shankar.
Yeah.
and
That's your
probably
3-4-5. That's your 3-4-5 in some of these games. I
that
reckon.
could be the middle order, but like I think that is sort of offset by the fact that you have Ashwin, you have Noor Ahmed, you have Jadeja. That's going to be very difficult to deal with at home. Paterana, if he fires, is an absolute nightmare. I am actually quite excited to see Gurchapney sing. I think if I was going to tip a player to be a revelation this year, I think that he might be the one. I think that could be a really, really good pickup. Although CSK have kind of done this in the past, haven't they? Bought a player, there's a lot of fanfare, and they just never
Bench.
play. So
Yeah.
so I'm not like he may also just turn up never to play a game.
Sunday comes in and takes 24 wickets.
Yeah, but I think there's a very roundabout way of saying I think the bowling is so good that and it's so well suited to the conditions that they'll play half their games. It'll be suited to Lucknow. It'll be suited to the Modi Dome. There'll probably be one or two other venues that goes like tilt towards spin, maybe Delhi. So it will travel reasonably well.
Yeah,
and their pacers can respond to that as well, right? With Nathan Ellis or Sam Curran, I think they've kind of got those options. And then Jamie Overton, if they play on a fast track, that could well be a bit of a handful. So Max, what weapon are they?
Well, that's the question. That's the one we're always excited to answer. So, have you heard of the Schwere Gustav, Ross?
No, I haven't.
No, it was a German 80-centimeter railway gun developed for the Second World War, the heaviest rifle artillery ever used in combat. And the reason I've chosen this to represent Chennai Super Kings, Ross, is because the main purpose of this gun was that it was built to basically destroy the Maginot Line in World War II when the Germans invaded France. But it took so long to set. I mean, it didn't actually take that long to set up because the French capitulated so quickly. But it took so long to set up that by the time they were actually ready to use it, the French had already fallen apart and the Germans had already invaded. And that is why it represents CSK to me, because, on its own, in its home turf, where it's all set and ready, it is the most, intimidating thing you can imagine. It's absolutely huge, biggest thing you can imagine. But don't know, maybe it doesn't travel so well because it takes a few days to build and it won't be there in time. And that's CSK for me. So in case you missed that, Jack, the Gustav cannon.
I heard it all.
Yeah,
that's a great weapon. It does. It makes a lot of sense, and it's sort of as old as Dhoni as well. So there's an extra layer of meaning in there.
Yeah, we needed some like cement ballast as well on the railway track, or just on the cart, just to keep it level. Who knows? Max, that's a good chance. So CSK well within a good shout. Is that the end of this section? Which one are we doing next?
That is the end of this episode. RCB will begin the next show for podcast listeners, or be the next video if you're catching us on YouTube. Bye-bye.